Hello and welcome to Let's Be Real, where we have the most interesting, exciting, entertaining stories that you're going to see anywhere. First of all, before we even start, I just want to say a huge thank you to Thailand Carpet for this beautiful set. Isn't it beautiful, you
It's
guys?
amazing,
It's
yeah.
It's
so
wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
We also want to say a huge thank you to Samantha Wines. We have our wines here again, and we're really excited to try them. But yeah, let's just get started. I have beautiful hosts with me as always. So why don't we start with you here, Melvin? Introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Melvin Alusa, and I am a professional actor, host for events. I'm a father, I'm a businessman. Yeah, that's me.
Great. Dr. C.
I'm Dr. C, and more recently, I'm a winemaker and a tastemaker. Samantha's bridal.
And CEO.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Charles Otieno, the CEO, a man who has been in the media for eons.
Lovely. And I'm Melissa, actor trainer, and a mommy. But let's get into our first conversation. I'm really excited for the things we're going to be talking about. CEO, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, this week, or is it last week, the biggest conversation has been a gentleman, a DJ, recording his wife committing suicide.
Yeah.
And it was very heart-wrenching. If you watch that video, it's around 6 minutes. The lady mixes a poison, the husband is just lying on the couch, and boom, until she dies, without moving. There are serious problems in marriages nowadays. I do not know what is your take in this whole episode.
I feel like if I can start off.
Yeah.
Hey, Twitter has been talking about this issue. You're hearing
Yes.
so many things. She was cheating, he was cheating.
Yeah.
But I feel like whatever happens,
Yeah.
there's a level of humanity. Forget even that being your wife. Just being a human being. You're watching a human being die. You're watching her children walk around her as she's dying, and you don't do anything. You don't take her to the hospital. I think there's serious problems there, and I feel for those kids so much because there's no explanation for that. And I know somewhere he had said, oh, when they're old enough, I'll explain. What are you explaining? What are you explaining to someone? You watched their mother die. So
Yes.
I really hope that those kids have a huge support system around them, and I hope they get therapy because they're going to need it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Melvin?
I think also it's what we saw in that video is a culmination of years of mental torture, emotional fatigue, and it's what we saw was it's been a journey, of course, getting there. That action was horrible. It's unjustifiable. I think for me, there's not much to say with regard to this because the DJ should have stopped the wife at the onset because it's horrible to watch it. But at the onset, when she was mixing it and he was telling her, mix them, gather them, maybe it's at a point where he's decided this thing is gone, I don't want you. But someone you've worked with, someone you have kids with, someone who you, even if someone you once loved, you know, there comes the issue of humanity. And this is the mother of your children, and your kids are in the bedroom. One of them came to the sitting room. I would rather you, I think any of us would have stopped the thing immediately before even she took the poison and then deal with the other issues later. But again, also the other side of the coin is, you know, he says she's been doing this and
Yeah, that she's tried this before.
She's tried this before and she's been threatening. So I don't know if he thought it's an empty threat, but he could, I mean, you know, he could see that you know she was actually taking the concoction, you know, in real time. So
Yeah,
I
would
don't
it
know.
matter to you if she's been doing this before and tried this before?
I have several opinions. Number one, I think it's an indication that families should try family therapy. They are perfect candidates for the whole family therapy. So for me, as a mother,
Yeah.
and I'm just seeing so that, you know, for a woman who can actually take her life away in front of her children, it is an indication for a much bigger problem. But the other thing I just want to throw in the spanner, first of all, mental health is a big problem in
Yes,
this
it
country.
is.
It's a big, major
Yeah.
problem. And where I come from, Melvin, I think we come from the same place. When someone threatened things like suicide, at least with the lawyers, that's how I know, is that traditionally you're supposed to tell them, go and do it.
What?
Tradition, yes, where I come from.
That's
Traditionally,
interesting.
you're meant to tell them, just go and do it. Just don't even, you're not supposed to, yeah. I know it's a shock to many people to
Yeah.
hear that, but yeah, where I come from, that's what we do. And I'm not necessarily saying to advocate for it, but so there could be, I don't know where this is, this DJ Brown something?
Brownskin, yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps maybe traditionally, and this is where some traditions we need to like get rid of.
Evolve, yeah.
And obviously there's a lot more that we don't know in that relationship. If she has threatened in the past, this is the time when someone is threatening, anybody threatening, it's a red flag. Then it needs to be taken seriously. They need to go for therapy. And these days, if what the community, the viewers need to know that if you're with anybody who threatens, the Red Cross treats it as an emergency. They will come to you, you know, the same way you call that,
Yeah.
you know, I have someone here with a heart attack.
Yeah.
They treat it in the same way. It's treated as an emergency now. So the institutions are aware. I think as a community, we need to take advantage of these facilities. But what just happened, what you see all there is an indication of family therapy missed. Maybe I think this guy became tired. It's about caregivers. So she literally sounds like somebody who has had a mental problem for a while. He sounds like someone, a caregiver who is tired and just doesn't know what to do. And he was just like, you know what, do what you want to do. So even caregivers need to be looked after.
It is true, traditionally, what you're saying. But the foundations of families long time ago were better. That if, when a man or a woman was growing up, you went through the stages. During these things you discussed through during circumcision, you discussed during every life stage. So suicide was considered a taboo. So people would tell you, go and kill yourself. But they knew for sure. Because a person who hangs or kills himself was not even buried in a decent way. No one wanted to try it because of those cultural practices. But I think with DJ Brownskin's biggest issue is that he did not understand that you separate a few things. You separate yourself from, if you've been hurt, you separate that from life. You know, this is the mother of my kids. I'm still responsible for her. So when he encouraged the woman, you can mix and gather them. You just drink. I think there's a lot of fundamental issues which he didn't deal with. Personally, I don't think that guy is mentally fit.
Yeah, he could have mental issues himself. Yeah.
Because mentally, any person, when you see someone threatening and he actually tries to swallow, the first reaction will be you grab the bottle and throw it away. Even if you hate that person or you don't get along. So I think that the mental issue is key, but it is not a crime, the way lawyers say, to watch someone die. But what are you teaching your kids? How will your kids look at you in future?
Yeah.
I think they all need help. But the question is, did he actually believe that
She
that
was
is
actually
poison?
killing herself. Yeah.
If she has tried in the past and not been successful, perhaps he thought.
Because he asked for her to be brought for milk, which people would do if someone had consumed poison. And the way he was so casual about it, it sounded like she's done this before.
Yeah.
So What do you think? At what point do you blame him? At what point do you like, I understand why he didn't take it seriously?
The fact that he asked the nanny, the auntie, to bring milk, I think he knew
He knew it was poison, but maybe he didn't think like it was something that was going to kill her. Maybe it was just like, if she drinks this milk, she'll be fine. But does that even matter? That's the question.
You know what? You know why it matters?
Yeah.
It matters because there's mental health of the person that is affected.
That's true.
And then there's the mental health of the caregivers. And that's why we need institutions that really, we already have them, but people really need to be encouraged. It takes a toll also on the caregivers.
Yes.
And this sounds to me, it's very easy for people to throw stones at him and all that. But it sounds to me like a man who needs help, a man who was really tired, and everything that is a very sorry state for the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quickly, maybe see you. I think the kids need to come into focus here as well, because okay, now they have one parent, and if the parent is in this state of mind, therefore, and emotionally, I personally don't think as a father, as a parent, I don't think DJ Brownskin is in the right mental, emotional
To raise the kids.
to raise the kids.
He's unfit, man.
He's unfit. He's completely off.
Don't you think someone can compartmentalize? Maybe the marriage was a horrible thing, but maybe he was a great dad, and maybe he can continue to be a great dad. Is the solution to take his kids away from him? Because if he is a caretaker, as she's saying, isn't that now almost punishing him for being in that situation that he was in?
But if you're a caregiver, Melissa,
Yeah.
you wouldn't watch your wife die. If you think that you are a great person, you'd take care of that woman first before she dies and say, this thing can't work. We always say, if marriages can't work,
Leave.
leave. If this thing wasn't working for DJ Brownskin, why wait until this woman threatened first, second, and third time? Why don't you go to the parents? There are channels of reconciliation moving out. You see, this one, it can't work. I'm out. Or because you have issues which are unresolved.
So, kind of, you had mentioned red flags when we were talking about this case, but I want to talk about other red flags. Annalisa, we all know her. She recently posted on her social media, I think she was having a conversation with her friends, and they were talking about how there are always red flags in relationships, and how somehow we always find ourselves ignoring them. So I wanted to bring it to us. And I wanted to know, what are some of the red flags you guys have ignored in previous relationships?
Are we getting personal?
Yeah, personal. You don't have to mention names. Don't mention names, though, please. Don't mention names, but just say, like, what are some of the red flags that you've encountered in your relationships that you found yourself ignoring? And maybe talk about why. Why did you ignore it? Why did you continue?
For me, a no-no is basically someone who drinks a lot and parties a lot.
Even when you were young? It's always been a red flag to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
For one reason. Because I do not expect my partner to be coming home late. I don't know where she is and all those things. There's this structure. When you're married, things are different. When you're dating, you can club as long as, but you see some people do not outgrow some stages in life. For me, I have a serious issue when you think that this lady or this man will be at home, but sometimes you find that the guy completely or the lady completely doesn't come home. People who come home at 4 a.m., has a small baby, that's the time the woman is coming in, surely. The baby is barely 3 months. She's clubbing.
So what did you do in that situation?
I'll walk out.
No, I mean, we are getting personal.
I don't think you even got that far.
I can't even get
you saw
there.
that and left.
No, what I mean is that, are we generalizing?
You can, or you can talk personal.
Yeah.
But that for him is a red flag.
Is that
It's a red flag.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of women, we always have this expectation of, oh yeah, my guy parties right now, but when we get married, he's going to
Yeah.
domesticate, and then it doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
Hardly ever.
In some
But
cases,
yeah.
in some cases, people change, especially when it comes to things like parties. I've seen people transition to become seriously settled. I don't like the term settled, but people settle down. For me, a red flag that I ignored, but something else. Because I consider a red flag as something that is very personal to me, a principle that I operate with. And I'm a communicator. I'm a melancholic extrovert, and I really, for me, conflict resolution is very important in any situation, and especially relationships. So a red flag I ignored is I once had a girl who it's called kufura, ama kusononeka, you know, sulking. When there's an issue, you know, she just
want you
goes,
to read our minds.
she just goes off, and you've sucked, and the energy, and women have a power of influence, because if I come to your house, CEO, and you have an issue with your wife, and maybe she's in the bedroom and she's sulking, I will sense the energy from the bedroom.
Yeah, you will.
Women just have a way of making either the house is amazingly awesome or polluting the entire environment. So for me, this, you know, she would sulk, and it was acidic, and I had to go and ask her, what is it? It takes hours of my energy just to find out,
To get to the root of it.
it was just telling me the problem is, for example, this glass is here instead of here. Then we solve it. Red flag I ignored. Got into a proper relationship with her. Of course, you know, thought, this thing is going to pass.
Yes.
She's still young. You know, she'll catch up. Well, now it became what it became. Now it was properly solidified. And now there are other issues. Now there's real issues to deal with. You know, there was real issues to deal with. So I would say red flags are real, and nobody should expect the other, their partner to change or to fix their, those things that, their patterns. You know, how someone is programmed is how someone is programmed. But of course, with therapy, maybe perhaps. But yeah, so for me that was
I think for
too much energy.
Yeah.
Draining.
I think for me, a red flag, especially when it comes to men, is if you're someone who's easily swayed by the men around you and by the people around you. Because I can never trust you. I can never trust that if you're around people who drink all the time, so you're not going to start drinking all the time. If you're around people who waste money, are you not going to start doing that? So I like someone who, they don't care what their friends think about them. They don't care what society thinks about them. I think that's really important. But in terms of a red flag, me personally, I've ignored, and I don't know how I've ignored it because I'm on pretty good terms with my exes. So I talk to them quite a bit. And two of my exes...
That's a red flag.
There's no red flag about that. It's completely platonic. But two of my exes have told me, Melissa, I never wanted kids. And if anyone who knows, kids has never been anything that I'm willing to negotiate. That was a for sure thing. And how may I ignore those red flags? And both of them have been like, Melissa, I told you very clearly, I don't want kids. And one of them even said, yeah, and Melissa, you responded saying, it's okay, that could change. So me, I don't know how red flags like that, a man can tell you something so clearly. And to me, when they told me that, I was like, that's a lie. You've never told me anything like that. I could not believe that someone had said something that clearly and I'd ignored it. So how I keep accepting these red flags, me, I don't know. But that's why therapy is there. Therapy, so at least you're aware. You're aware of what you're doing and your patterns. But yeah, that's my red flag.
Yeah, so for me growing up, I always knew that I'm a strong person. And I always knew that sometimes men got threatened by that. So within me, I cultivated certain things that if I see, it means run. And they've served me very well. Because when I look back, I see, oh my God, hapo niliponea chupu-chupu. Chupu-chupu.
Yes.
Niliponea kabisa. So for me, any guy who disrespects your parents, like disrespects your father or your mother, whether they are present or not present, it's a red flag. Like, you run. Okay? So for me, it was a given. Number one, we won't even get married if you do not respect my father. So it didn't happen, so I chose well. In a previous relationship, a red flag for me was a guy who told me that I'm too intelligent. He just needs to marry a nursery school, teacher or something. Yeah. And I'm telling you, this guy would even enter a room when I was there, and my friends would see me lighter. Like you know, this is like really, I love this guy. I would really light up. I even said, shall I go and study, become a primary school teacher?
Oh my.
Nursery school teacher.
Yes.
Because for me, I couldn't see my life, you know, without this person. And so finally, I had to move on with my career. I think he went and chose someone who completely was below, like really, in terms of the education level, he did very well. So funny enough, many years later, I just bump into this person. And later on, you're sitting there and a WhatsApp message comes in like, oh, who is that? And so I asked, so how is your family? So everything's like, we're no longer together and all that. And so what happened? And he started talking these bad things about their partner. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not even answering. I'm just taking it in. And I realize, Catherine, this is a God moment. You do realize this could have been you. This could have been you, because now they're no longer together, and the bad things this person is actually talking about. So I think they were just looking at domineering. And you see, that was really good, but I had to give myself time to really get out of these relationship. So you have to see, for me, that was a sign that this person
It's not for you.
is looking for someone to dominate. And even the way he was talking. So that was such a red flag. But also in relationships, I think so that, because we just talked about this DJ Brown or something, a red flag is especially people who get addicted to things.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's alcohol, it's such a red flag that just know it's going to be in the relationship. Another red flag is if someone is telling you something like, oh, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this to myself.
Oh, yeah.
Just take off. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even manipulation. These people, it's manipulation, and it means they have some deep-rooted problem.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because then you end up in, I'm not saying you avoid people with mental health issues, but you really need to ask, am I ready to live like this?
Be conscious. when
Be
you're doing
conscious
this.
of things like that. People who want to dominate you, people who disrespect your parents, financial, those are red flags.
Actually,
What?
financial is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the biggest red flag has always been finances. Because people get into these emotional, romantic affairs without knowing how you'll eat, how you'll survive, how you'll get a
But
mortgage.
it's love.
You think you'll eat love. Then
Yes.
Yeah.
you realize
Yeah.
Love can't be eaten.
it cannot be eaten. You realize that love
Yeah.
needs a base, a support.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say it's like making pizza. You need the duff so that you can have the nyamas on top. So you end up in that house, and then someone doesn't have financial fidelity. You realize that he drinks a lot. Then you're saying, how did I end up here?
Yeah.
People who are
think, yeah.
refusing, especially to share their pay slip.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pay slip or how much they make.
Share your pay
Like, you
slip.
must
Yeah.
put all your assets, all your bank accounts, everything on the table.
On the
Yeah.
table.
If they are not ready to share, take off.
And
So-
it's,
Yeah,
it's,
Yes,
it's,
you need to
especially,
check
it's
off.
especially a weakness with, I think, when men are genuinely settled in a home,
Yes.
we are very open with our finances. I'm telling you, we put
Is that a
everything-
weakness or a strength now?
Just a red flag. So we put everything on the table. But now, your sisters or our sisters now become. I don't know why women are so secretive about how much they earn.
Because it's not your
Because-
business. Am I paying the bills now? Does it matter? Anyway, we have to wrap up this. We have to wrap. I think that's another topic. that
But
we're
that's
going
no,
into.
that's a red
Yeah.
flag, a very serious red
That's
flag.
a red flag. Because for me, like we talked about this last week, money brings oneness. If we are together, if you're with me emotionally, psychologically, we're having children, we are intimate that way. Why can't we also be intimate about the money we are making?
I'll
I'm not
tell
asking.
you.
I'm not asking you for your money, for example. But you just putting everything on the table, and then we plan together.
Me, I was always told a woman should always have an account somewhere. The man can know it exists, but you don't need to know how much there is in there. And just, at any moment, to me,
Melissa,
there's enough in there to leave.
That's why men are paying rent to the houses they live in.
Yeah, but it's fine. See me, I have my account somewhere. If you want to kick me out, even me and the kids can move.
There are
What's
men.
the real? Eh?
There are men who have realized that the house they've been paying rent to is actually owned by their wives.
But what by their wives?
But honestly, by the time you find yourself in a relationship, that you are not ready to be open your finances, whether you're a woman or a man, it's going nowhere.
Really?
That relationship is
nowhere.
going
So that's
nowhere.
a red flag.
For me, it's such a red flag because I'm a very, very honest person in terms of I'm open. I cannot exist when I have to pretend. Oh, yeah, I can pretend when, say, maybe if I need something from you. But in the house that I live, how can you live a life of pretense?
I agree.
You live with this man and you have to pretend, not tell him how much you earn.
Yeah.
Or not tell your woman how much. That is not life.
I will show
We are
the-
meant to be free
To be
humans.
free. I will show this part, but this part I will not show.
That is a miserable life.
Because why?
So recently, there's a story in the media of the TikToker who walked out of her marriage after 10 or 13 years.
Yeah.
About 13 years. And everyone seems to be really happy that she walked out of her marriage, at least when she's still alive. So when is the time to call it off? And is it okay?
To call it off?
Yes.
Did she cite her reasons?
She
or-
just, it has become toxic. And for her, it was like she packed her things, showed everything, and filmed everything as she's walking out of her apparent toxic
matrimonial home.
matrimonial home. It's like, I better get out of here when I'm alive.
It is. I hope it was not cloud chasing, because these TikTokers also nowadays
Everything is there.
anything is for the gram.
Yeah.
But there are issues we have to deal with. One is that from where I sit, I think marriage is a very good thing if it works. It is a wonderful thing if it works. But if it cannot work, there's always other option. And the best option is just to walk out. You just decide this thing. You'd rather walk out with your life than walk out in a coffin. Because you can walk out in a coffin. But I think the biggest problem is that also, why is it that nowadays people are toxic? I think it's because of how we are being brought up. Long time ago, there were a lot of structures, support. If you're going to get married,
It's preparation.
there was a lot of preparation. You wouldn't just walk out, come in with a girl to your village. Your father will do the groundwork. Your relatives, people will do the checks, and they'll tell you, our community, we don't marry this person, or we can't marry from that family. That family, they are suicidal. These things are missing nowadays. Or that family, those guys are drunkards. Those things were there.
Yes, it's true.
They will tell you, that family has night runners. We don't want a night runner here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So-
yeah.
So clearly, the gap has been created by people you meet in a club, in a restaurant. You like the way the guy looks or the chick. I want to marry this chick, love, and you get married. You have done zero background check.
I agree.
Yeah.
Then 10
Yeah.
years down the line, you realize these guys, no one in their family gets married also.
Well, they are all divorced.
Or they're all divorced.
I think
Let's
I agree with that. First of all, let me say, if you're in an abusive relationship, just leave. Just
Yeah.
leave. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Just leave. So I'm not advocating for staying in an abusive relationship, but I do feel like, I don't know if it's just my generation, the younger generation, or just our society the way it is now. I don't like this celebration of divorce, this celebration of leaving marriages all the time, because marriages are not easy. As in, like me, I'm like, for some, especially for these young people, when you start to hear some of the reasons that they're leaving these marriages, it's like, did you enter this marriage thinking that it was supposed to be fine and dandy, happy, happy, happy for forever? Marriage is, from talking to a lot of people married, me, I'm not married, so maybe, but from talking to people who are married and also from seeing breakdowns of marriages are not easy. You go through good times and you go through bad times as well. And so I think we need to do that preparation for people when they're entering marriage to also understand, just know it's not always going to be easy. There are going to be times you really need to work on this marriage. You're going to have a year, 2 years where you may hate each other. But as long as both of you are willing to come back together, and that's the other key point, you can't fight for marriage by yourself. So if two of you are willing to stick in that marriage, you understand that sometimes things will go bad and sometimes they'll improve, then you can build yourselves out of a hole that you've gotten yourself into as a marriage. Again, if you guys are getting beaten up, I believe. But I feel like there's a celebration these days of you've left your marriage, congratulations, let's have a divorce party, wow, 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 congratulations. There's nothing to congratulate someone about, because at the end of the day also, especially when you have kids, it's a horrible experience to go through a divorce. It's not fun. So I don't understand also this celebration, like it's like you're having a baptism. It's not a nice experience to have. And maybe it's not always necessary. Maybe you should work harder.
I think I have something to say about the divorce parties.
Yes.
Not because I'm vying for any job to do divorce parties.
Yeah.
By the way, I just need to say they're very big all over the world. And in Kenya here, divorce parties are already happening, and in the most stylish way.
Why?
And sometimes, sometimes people say that if you called us for the
wedding,
why not have the divorce parties? And a lot of people feel it is so important to let the world know that we are no longer together. So I have mixed reactions on this. Number one is that there's so many things because we are in the information age. And therefore a lot of things are happening and they're being blown out there out of proportion. And it's making it look like everyone is divorcing. It's actually just some very few people at the top who are speaking so loud, and they're speaking so louder than everybody else who is in a marriage that is working, that is making it look like everyone is divorcing.
Yeah,
so the real
more
truth
than 50% of people are still
the
staying
real
married.
truth is that marriage is working, people are still married, and families are very strong, and as a nation, and I'm not deluded, as a nation, marriage is actually working. So when you go to social media and say that, it's not working, it's making look like it's an epidemic. But that said, I think there is a place for divorce parties and there's a place for going loud on social media. Because we have seen sometimes marriages are not working. In some cases, they're not working. And when they're not working, people are feeling ashamed of walking out of marriages. People are feeling that, what will people think of me? And people have lost lives. People are suffering in these relationships because they feel they need to live up to a certain ideal. And so there's that societal pressure. So there's a place for celebrating people living a toxic relationship. And so that we can save some lives. Because when children live in some of these toxic relationships, they grow up toxic themselves. It's horrible. So there's a place for all these things, and I think it's just keeping an open mind, and I know some very good divorce party planners.
No, surely. It is good, but my problem is the new generation, and Melissa, you caught it, what they say, ni kuoga na kurudi?
Soko.
Surely. How can you say ni kuoga na kurudi soko? The triviality of it, that you divorce today, it is a wrong notion people are now divorcing for. Because if you think that nitaoga na nirudi soko, every time you get married, 2 years, you're out. You're saying, oh, this guy, I didn't like this, I'm out. But also remember that if you had a proper base of what you're getting married for, people don't know what they're getting married for anyway.
Yeah. They think it's just a paper. See, people always saying that marriage is just a paper.
I think what you said earlier is correct, because I would say these marriages, if we look at at the root of why divorce is happening at this rate, my suggestion would be, I would use the analogy of marriage being like a farm where you want to plant A, B, C, D, and you choose the right soil and whatnot and fertilizer. You plant. But nowadays, because we, of the information age, we're saying we are meeting on Instagram. I inbox you and quickly before you know it, and then it goes and it's physical beauty I'm looking at and money and whatnot. Therefore, you get into marriage and then you realize you're dealing with so much. You didn't take time to know this person. You didn't think about what you really want for a home. Does this woman match something, at least even 50% or 80%? So people find themselves in a whirlwind of, you're dealing with this, you're dealing with that, you're dealing with family patterns from the other side, you're dealing with perhaps even curses from the other side. And because you haven't done your due diligence and you're in a whirlwind of, but this war, then you're cornered. Yeah, you're cornered. Wrong choice from the word go, and now the only option is out.
And maybe you haven't done your due diligence on yourself. Maybe you haven't gotten to know yourself enough to know, okay, this is what I need, this is what I want.
Yeah, this is what I need. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because also, if I know this is the kind of person that I am, there's strengths and there's weaknesses, perhaps I should choose someone who has some certain areas of strength. Yeah, and complement. But also it's tough because do I go for the inward qualities and then because I'm a man, I'm also visual,
You see, Melvin, let's just maybe to wrap it up before we...
And I'll have something to say before you wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah. One, I would say that most marriages, arranged marriages, work. Statistics.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it? I want us to go back. Most pre-arranged marriages by communities have always worked.
Yeah.
Why is the current generation have problems in marriage? It's because we are not looking at substance. We are looking at superficial things most likely. Remember that in the most of the the cultures we know, you are not even told, you're just told we know Melvin or we know Melissa. Melissa and Melvin cannot work. These ones will fight. So you're told that one you can't marry. A woman walks in and you're told that is a woman you'll marry. You have never met that chick. You've never sat with her. But there's a lot of background that the people have done. And also they've learnt you.
Yeah.
So when that woman walks into your house, the first time you're wondering, why is this woman here? Traditionally, Luos, women were brought. You are here in Nairobi. Your mother walks in with a girl from the village. And you're told, this is your wife. You start asking, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Those marriages have lasted for 50 years and above.
Yeah. So I think we should forget about this thing I'm so in love with her, I'm so in love with him, and just focus on
due diligence.
The due diligence.
And have your community, I
guess. You have to. It is a bigger thing than you think.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, we can keep on going with this conversation.
No. I have something to say before you actually wrap up. One scientific, which people need to be aware of, but the other one social. Understanding that anyone who is in a relationship, including myself, yourself, you know that everything is usually not smooth. And sometimes you even just want to walk away. And you know how difficult and tough that process is.
Yes, it is.
So I don't want anyone to actually sit and think so that these people walking out of their marriages, it's an easy decision. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. You want a beautiful girl who's going to be a really good wife, and if she's that good, why would you leave her? Or a nice man. Women, we want the same thing.
Yeah.
We want a guy who can look after his family and all that, look after us and, treat us well. Why would you walk away out of such a good man? So people make these decisions. Let's not just trivialize them. It is not easy. But at the end of the day, the society has changed in such a way that maybe this is not really how we are wired as humans. Because basically, the technology may have improved, everything has improved, but our brains are still the same. It means so that when you look at the communities that have more divorce rates, men really get domesticated in terms of the more children there are, the more the man stays.
So you should
The
have
fewer,
kids.
this is scientific. It's a big study that has been done all over the world. The fewer the children, the higher the rate of divorce.
Interesting.
It's a very interesting study that has been done. So in what ways has the society changed that perhaps we are blaming these young people for no good reason? It is a result of how the society has changed.
Okay, guys, I think we can, at this point, this can keep on going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a long one.
we've got more, more interesting topics to discuss. So we, at this point, we shall take a small commercial break, but don't touch that dial because when we get back, we're going to be diving into more interesting and diverse topics. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. I think we've had a great conversation in the first part. There's a lot in store for this second part of this program. Let's jump in. And before we jump in, Melvin, can we have Daktari put for us some
Oh,
wine?
yes. We're serving wine.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Absolutely.
going to sip wine.
What
Great.
wine are we having today?
Today we are having the red wine, Samantha Red. And I'll tell you about this Samantha Red. Of course, it's Spanish. And the dominant grape is the Tempranillo grape.
Okay.
It's written Tempranillo, and I was swiftly corrected. It's Tempranillo. The LL is silent, in Spanish. So this goes very well with red meats, with spiced food. Yeah. But I always say the good wine is the one you like. If you want to drink red wine with whatever food, just go ahead.
I like
but
that.
just serving notes. Okay? So
All
I
right.
think I'm going to start with
Melvin.
Gentlemen.
Melvin. I'll start with you.
Thank you.
Should we get into the
Up
topic?
to
as
there.
we-
You know Kenyans who go to restaurants and say, fill the glass.
And half the
Have
bottle.
Have you ever seen that?
I was waiting for you to go higher than that. So that's the standard level that you serve wine.
Actually, that is the standard level.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, I've overserved it.
Yeah.
And then
Because
you
you need-
leave it to give it time.
Time.
Yeah.
And you need to swirl it.
You swirl. Can
Swirl
you
it,
swirl?
you
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 Smell
need
swirl.
to
it.
swirl it.
Okay.
You swirl. You
You need
Living
to
touch.
swirl
actually.
it.
Uh-huh.
So
Or give it time to breathe.
No, you swirl it so
You
that
swirl?
the taste.
you swirl, and then you see, even wine has legs, in terms of how soon does it, and then
You smell it. Then you
smells
sip
really
it.
nice.
But let's
Can
get
you
back.
smell?
Yes. This is becoming a wine tasting session. Yes.
I will take my water, but I can't swallow my water. But
Melvin, tell us.
let's get to the business end of this show.
Oh, like that.
Last
You
week,
love it?
Yes.
last week we had the daughter of Diamond Platnumz and the ex-wife Zari Hassan saying that she needed the mother to fire the house manager because of some issues. I was taken aback because I was wondering why would a young girl say that? But also I remember that in our court cases in the country, there are very many nasty house managers. Others have been stepping on kids. Others have been feeding kids many bad things. I don't know what your take is.
As a father of an amazing number of kids,
Yes.
and with 2 nannies in my
Yes.
house, so
Yeah.
you can imagine how many kids I have. This topic of nannies is very sensitive to me. I think there's 2 categories of nannies. There's nannies from hell, and
Yes.
you know them. There's nannies who are bad to kids, they mistreat them, and it's just, it's horribly pathetic.
Yes.
Come and find your child is withdrawn, they're developing mental issues. There's all manner of abuse going on in these houses these days, especially with 2 working parents who are with two absentee parents, because the world is what it is. You're working, I'm working, we're all gone. But that's not my focus today. My focus would be if a nanny is decent, well trained,
Yeah.
and cultured,
Yeah.
and the nanny is, because nannies also have as a percentage degree of disciplining the kids and mentoring them in a way, because
Yeah.
to be honest, they're the ones who stay with these kids longer than us. We're out there hustling. You're making your wine, you're making your, you know, there's a certain authority that they have over the children that should be allowed by the parent, but with discretion, of course. Zara's child is old enough to speak her mind and to say, okay, I wouldn't be too worried about a child who is 9, 10 years, because they can tell me, hey, dad, this was this and this was happening. So when this child says this nanny should be fired, she, she even knows about firing. It tells me, therefore, there's a certain level of intolerance coming from her, and I think it's also coming from perhaps the way Zara or Zaria, whatever her name is maybe relating with the nanny, or the conversations they've had with with the daughter of this. There's an entitlement to that I don't like, especially with her going for the straight. What should I do? Zari asked, have you talked to her? Have you done this? No, I just want you to fire her. And I will, and if you don't, I will tell my dad Diamond. That's an entitlement I don't feel is healthy for a child. And this brings in a parental issue that we're having these days, where kids are being called mommy and daddy and being smoothed and being smothered. And they think they're little kings and little queens, but the world is not like that. So with that one, I disagree, and I want to. I would say Zara needs to check.
Let me correct. It's Zari Hassan.
Zari.
Zari Hassan needs to check that with her kid.
She's a socialite.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It is the Zara or Zari,
Zari.
I think if I can say what I think about that topic, I think, hey, nannies is a hard one, because like you said, they do spend such a significant amount of time with your kids. I always feel like your kids should be able to say whatever they want about the house help, especially if you're not there, because it helps you understand what's happening in that home. Because she might say over this tiny thing, you should fire her, but it's now on you to start asking questions like why, and find out, is there another reason she does not like this nanny, something going on behind closed doors? And I think for us as parents, as much as, okay, me, I'm privileged, at least I can work at home, so I'm with my kid a lot. But for parents, as much as possible, you should find time to spend time, you and your kid by yourself, to keep checking in. Like I always say, if you can wash your kids, you should just bathe your kids, because that's a perfect time to check their body, check if you're seeing anything that's wrong. But I think you should listen very keenly when your kids are talking about their nanny, because they might be trying to communicate that something is happening and something is off. Yeah, I think that's what I think.
So I have some strong views about that from personal experience, an experience that literally changed my life and defines who I am. So I grew up with, everyone knows my parents divorced when I was 2, meaning there was quite a bit of some nannies in my life. And there was this particular nanny, I remember her, Josephine. She was nasty, really nasty. And so she would really beat us, like for no good reason, no. And we were so scared. She literally would say, if you tell your father, then make sure you go with him to work.
Where?
And so one day, the neighbors would tell my father, and my father would ask, did anything happen to you? Then I would say, no, nothing bad has actually happened. So one day it got so bad, and I gathered all my strength, and I told my father, that night, that girl left. And since then, it really defined my relationship with my father. I knew that I have unconditional love completely with my father. My love, the love of my father was unconditional. And I always knew I can run to him if there's an issue. Now, my second point is that it's parenting. And So as Africans, we've changed. We had a very authoritative way of parenting. But right now, I see that a lot of parents, and it is really important because of the way the world is working, for you to listen to your children.
Yeah.
Because this goes a long way in what kind of adults they are going to be. There was a doctor, Spokes, somebody like that. You've heard of that doctor, who did a whole experiment on the European market in terms of when a child cries, leave them there alone, don't touch them. You remember that parenting?
Yeah.
These resulted in a population of adults who were so insecure,
Yep.
who thought their opinions didn't matter. So right now, the current thinking in parenting is that all of you sit on the table, let children know that their opinion matters. If my child came to me and said, I'm uncomfortable with this or this particular person, I would really look at it and think about what is she trying to say. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think you need to raise your children enough such that, and I parent like that, in terms of my daughter, even when we are making a financial decision, we would just ask her, like, what do you think about this? Even though we are the ones who will make a decision that is good for her, but at least she knows she's part of the decision making. And I see that she would never say that I don't want to do this particular thing without a reason. And you listen to that reason. If it matters, act. Because then it's going to determine what kind of adults they're
Yeah.
going to be.
CEO, maybe you can finish the topic off for
Yeah,
us.
I think we've talked about it pretty well, Dr. Hari. You've said that the issue is about parenting.
Yes.
And parenting has changed over the years. Even in African setting, our parenting was different. Our parents dealt with us was totally different. If you try that on your kid today, the kid will withdraw, will run away from home. My father would walk into the house and you scatter.
Yeah,
He's an African man.
exactly.
You don't expect him to. He sees a problem everywhere. Oh, how is your shirt not tucked in? You know, that's how we were brought up. Eh? But nowadays, you sit with your kids, you discuss. So I think Zari's kid comes from a point of view where she has learned a lot. In our time, it was very difficult for you to even go tell your father that, first of all, you didn't even house help for who? You go and work, my friend. House help for who? You wash the plates, you do the cleaning, then you go to school. If you come back, you do work, then you do your homework. There was no money for those other, what do you call, extra things. But this thing, I think what we need to talk about is that we have very good house managers out there, but we have nasty ones.
Yeah.
It is how you pick. You must do, you can't walk into a bureau and just pick a girl you don't know their family. You've not even tried them and tested them, whether they might be sociopaths you're bringing into your house to deal with your kids.
Okay.
Then you go to work, you don't even have a CCTV camera in your house, you don't know what is happening, and then you come and say, oh, my kid is withdrawn.
So due
But
diligence for
You have to
parents.
do your proper due
Yeah.
diligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the modern parenting requires you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also we need to know that kids also, you have to stem that over entitlement,
Yes.
which kids have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, a kid, if you don't tame it, that's why we have around here in Buruburu men of 40 years living with their parents. They've never moved out.
Yeah, exactly.
They tell you, I'm waiting for mommy, I'm waiting for daddy
To buy me cigarettes.
to buy me cigarettes. Because you never showed them
Yeah.
how to
That is
fish.
some form of, how to fish.
Yes.
And speaking about kids, if we could move to our next topic, we're talking about Guardian Angel and his wife. Her name is leaving me. Do you know the name of his wife? No. Okay, cool. So Guardian Angel recently talked. I feel like since they got married, they've been no, I don't want to say harassed, but a lot of people have been asking them, so when is the kid coming? When is the kid coming? I know the wife already has, is it 3 kids from a previous relationship? And so I think he just had enough. And so he came out, both of them actually individually came out, and they're just like, guys, unless you're going to feed our kids and pay for school fees or whatever, just leave us as a couple alone when it comes to kids. And I think it brought up the conversation on social media about people, we all know, people, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, constantly asking you, so when is the next kid coming? I know personally, me, I always ask, and it's not good. It's not good, but I ask. So what do you guys think about that? Is it bad? Is it really that bad for people to ask, when's the kid coming?
First of all,
absolutely immoral and wrong.
Why?
I think, and bad manners for you to ask someone or a couple, when are you having kids? It's actually very insensitive. Because apart from people deciding, nowadays people have their own opinions about family. I mean, for me, I believe a family unit is a married man and a woman. That's a family unit. A family, you know,
it is so.
complete family already. Kids are an additive. You don't have to have kids. However, people decide not to have kids for their own reasons, childhood traumas or financial reasons. There's a million reasons why people don't want to have kids. However, the one that's sensitive is you're asking people when are you going to have kids. Have we thought about them? Their biological capabilities of people having kids.
Yeah, because his wife is older.
The wife is older, but she has kids. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, the wife is older. Yeah. But still, there's people who just can't have kids because of biological complications, and maybe they've been trying, and they've been going to this doctor, the other fertility doctor, and they're basically in the process of, or they have even just given up. They have collapsed under the entire, pressure, and you're there still asking. I feel if someone contributes as to why they haven't had kids, or if they confide in me, fine, I'll contribute. However, IMC weddings. I've seen so many weddings, and I've met couples who 5 years later in malls, no kids. But I wouldn't dare ask because of a number of reasons, like the ones I'm giving you now. The most sensitive one is there are people who just low sperm count or complications from the, it's not, nothing to bring on yourself. So yeah,
I feel like
it's bad manners.
It's not bad. Okay, I feel like I understand what you're saying, and I agree. As in, like, for all we know, you could be asking a woman when are you having a baby, and maybe she's just suffered a miscarriage last week, and those are things we have to be sensitive about. But I do think as a couple, you need to understand people are not coming from a bad place when they ask you this. Like, they're excited, they're invested in your relationship, like they want to see you guys thrive and have kids. Okay, maybe when me I'm asking, it's because like I'm so excited for you guys, like I want to build a family. But in fairness, the people who I do ask, so are we seeing a kid next year? It's people who have already asked, so do you want kids? And if they said yes, then I'm like, so how's it going? But I do think there is a place for sensitivity because you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. There are a lot of sensitive things that could be happening, miscarriages, problems getting pregnant and all those things. But it's coming from a good place. That's what me feel like.
Well, yes and no. Okay? Yes, because, it's a good place. As in children, a natural progression of you got married and children are coming. But I specifically think so that specifically for guardian angel and the wife, because they've been so open with their relationship in the media, I think there's a very easy way of shutting this thing up. They should just tell us the reason why they're not having babies. And it will shut up, everyone will shut up. They'll say, okay, we are struggling. You just say, okay, now, at this age, at 50, she's 50 plus.
Yeah, she's older.
And we all know science is already there. She's not like inventing anything. We are not expecting her to have a baby, actually. At age 50, no, science is not even on your side. Speak to any gynecologist.
Yeah.
It is a very well-known fact. Guardian angel, I think, is still very virile. Can have children, so they can release a press statement because their relationship is open. The moment there's always choices you make. If you make your relationship open, people, and if they're getting annoyed, shut people up. Tell them, look, I'm 50, I can't have children. And then they say, okay, maybe we'll try surrogate or whatever it is. Surrogate means you'll use other eggs that are not hers if she wants. But just shut people up. Then watu wanyamaze na wajue. So the thing is, when you try to hide, people will not pry into your life unless you let
open
them.
it up.
Once
Yeah.
you open, be ready to open the full door, the whole 9 yards. This is, I think, how it is. But that said, I think so it becomes a problem when people start to abuse you
For not having kids. Yes.
for not having kids.
Yes.
Yeah? That, oh, you know, why are you not having children? And they start giving you...
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
What's
You
wrong
can't
with
have
you?
kids, yeah.
Whatever, get out of our son's house, or things like that. Or, you know, very funny. Even men get abused.
Yeah.
Now, that is what there's a problem. But people just wanting to know, no. Tell them.
CEO, what do you think?
Shut them up.
I'm always very indifferent in that relationship between my good friend Esther Musila and Guardian Angel. One, because I don't know whether they knew what they are getting into, because Esther used to work, or she still works in the UN or something like that. And then you get a gospel musician, a celebrity. Then, of course, now you put your whole affair, your whole life you've been hiding for 50 years in the limelight. Now, two things. When you're getting married, you must know what you're getting married for. I think they must have reconciled whether they wanted kids or not. And whether Guardian Angel is allowed to go and marry another younger chick later.
And have kids, yeah.
And have kids. Because from the community he comes from, definitely, perspectives change.
Yeah.
Relationships change. You're getting married to this 50-year-old woman. You are 30 or 20-something. At that time, you don't want kids. Her kids come home, they're adults with their kids. You start wondering, then pressure starts building. Some of them will start looking at you as if you are there for money. And there's nothing cementing that relationship. And there are folks back in the village are saying, "Ai, huyu mama mzee amechukua mtoto wetu ametuharibia." You see, that's what people say. We have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know how long they want to go with it, but the easiest thing is the way Catherine is saying, shut it. Shut the whole conversation. And the abusing is wrong, but I think that relationship, the way I read their story, the way they came to be together, I think there was a lot of hype around it, and they need to get real. The rubber is just about to meet the road, and now they are facing it.
It has
Yeah.
already hit the road.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think what we're saying is, to be honest, just maybe as a couple, be more honest to the people asking.
Yeah.
Just say we're trying, or say we're not trying, or say
Yeah.
whatever.
Or we are having difficulty.
Yeah, and then let it die there.
Yeah, or we're going
Okay.
to allow Guardian Angel
To get a
a
kid
younger,
elsewhere.
Yeah.
a younger, more virile
Woman,
young
get-
woman to marry or to have kids with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what we're really saying?
I mean,
That's what they're saying. That's what the men are saying.
yeah.
Marriage is about
Nonsense.
Marriage is about friendship, and
Great.
this takes us to to.
In just to end, in Luo culture, maybe educate you, Melissa. An old woman was allowed to bring a younger woman to have kids for the husband.
Yeah, let the old woman do
But
that.
now they-
Not
we
you as
have
a man go
surrogates.
find. Yeah,
Guardian can
surrogates.
get
Those are
surrogates.
surrogates.
No.
They don't have to be a wife.
Have kids,
She
doesn't
Forget
have
about
to
this
be a
stuff.
wife.
Forget about surrogate. Natural
Anyway,
way.
we're going to keep arguing
And so
about
then,
this.
so
Move on. Let's
what
move
you're
on. We're
saying
not
that
agreeing.
you can actually get another wife the natural way. The thing is, everyone knows, yeah. So at 50, if Esther wants to carry
Yes,
if
Mr.
she wants to carry a baby, we know very few women
Chances
can
are low.
produce eggs at 50, scientifically.
And even the pregnancy is not healthy.
Yes.
It's hard for it to be
But
healthy.
there are exceptions. So if she's in the exceptions category, then it's something else.
Okay.
Yeah? So those are hard conversations. But for a Muluya man, hey, and he's going to be Musumba.
It's
Hey,
a
wait,
problem.
it's a problem.
It's a problem. Anyway, guys, I think we can wrap that up.
Yeah.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have been friends for 25 years. Actually, they've been best friends for the longest time ever. And one of the things they've done, they wrote a really amazing script, did it together. They
Goodwill
won,
Hunting.
Yeah.
Academy Awards, Oscars, like they won a lot.
they won so
yeah,
many
and they were
Oscars.
young in their 20s.
Yeah. So they've been friends for that long, and their friendship has actually, it's now brotherhood that has developed into a friendship of profit. So it brings up the topic of, do you guys believe in having a best friend, or that one friend that you love, you confide in, this is your sister? I don't believe in platonic. This is your sister, or this is your brother. Do you believe in those kind of things?
Yeah. I think you can have really good friends, and I think the older you get, the fewer that you have in general. But where I'm just like, eeh, is when it comes to friends working together. I think that's very, very, it's very tenuous when you have two friends working together. There's a high chance of issues happening. I always tell people, especially my little brothers, when they want to start businesses, because they're in their 20s, with friends, I'm just like, if you can avoid, I would say avoid. Avoid starting businesses with your friends, avoid starting businesses with your family, unless you can really gauge it. You guys are truly on the same page. Like, your level of motivation is the same, your level of investment in this project is the same, because otherwise, I think that's how a lot of friendships devolve and get destroyed. But best friends, I think you can have. So understand as you get older,
So
close ones.
As long as you keep business for
keep
you
business out
aside.
of it. Yeah, generally.
Dr. C, what do you think?
Melvin, I think you needed to expound a little bit, not just for me, but also for the viewers.
Yeah.
What happened between Ben Affleck and Mark Damon?
Okay, because I can tell because I'm a fan.
Okay.
So they're two actors. I know they also produce, they also direct, and so they had written Good Will Hunting when they were in their 20s. They've been best friends for forever, and even till today, they're still making like these big blockbusters together. And so I think that's kind of where their friendship was coming. They've had this really close friendship that's also been very business linked with each other.
So what's the story?
So the story is, at your age and stage in life, do you believe in having a best friend, apart from your husband?
Someone you can do business with, make money with.
Someone
I think
who
that's
is
a good idea.
over and above in business.
Okay, so I'll say that I do believe, because I see my husband, who has friends from the kindergarten. And these people are like all over the world, and from university, there are people who have that kind of personality.
Yeah.
And my husband is one of them. So, like, they've kept the friendship. Perhaps they used to read the same novels together. They may not talk all the time, but they are kind of like soulmates. So maybe every summer, perhaps we would meet, and they just like know each other, they understand each other. But obviously, for men, I think it's very different from women. Yes, it's a very, very different kind of friendship for women. And this is what I say, is that I find that as I'm getting older, I have different friends for different stages of life. And I think people should keep an open mind, because the person you were when you were 18 may not be the person you are when you're 40, not the same person you are when you're 60, 70, and I think so that if you can sustain friendships, maybe up to a certain age, there's a place of convergence. Of convergence when all the competition is gone. At certain stages in life, there's what we call the sibling rivalry, where it happens even within friends. Friends are competing, you're busy with the things about life. But I think at age, say 70 or even past a certain age, when everything is the same, I think, let me just say even past 50, everything for most people is just the same. So everything you look at it sometimes is vanity. So whether you've got a billion times a little bit more, so me, I can eat, I have a roof on my head, my children, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Then the perspective of friendships, again, there's convergence. But there's a time when the friendships go.
Let me just cut in before I give it over to CEO, because that's really reminded me of something. I remember when I was pregnant, around that time, like, I really insulated. I know a lot of women, sometimes when you're pregnant, you insulate, you want a very close group of people around you. But I found that when I gave birth and when I became a mom, I found it so hard to connect to the people who were in my life before that. And it was hard because I tried to explain that to some of my friends, especially the people who are not parents themselves, and I don't think they understand that. So I like that you said that especially as women, we go through stages of life. And it's okay to understand that when we go through those stages, we really change. And sometimes we just are not connecting anymore with the group that we have around us. And that's okay. It's okay. And I think sometimes as friends, you can give each other leeway to go if we need to go and to stay if we need to stay. But yeah, these changes, they matter. CEO.
Yeah,
let me hand it
I
to you.
think for Ben and Matt is their value system. It depends with the value system you have and your friend has. Because these friendships, what actually breaks them is people holding different values from you. As you grow older, first of all, probably you used to drink a lot, or you are saved, and this one is not saved. This one is. So there are many issues. It's a value system which you must interrogate. Do I hold the same values as this other person? Are our values compatible throughout our lives? If it's not compatible, definitely you won't have our best friend. You'll have friends for specific timelines and ages, because your values also maybe have shifted. But it's very hard to find someone with a best friend, because also pressures of life and the way people relate nowadays. Majority of Kenyans or many friends are just there because you are offering something. You've had people tell you that the moment you lose your job, your phone doesn't ring. It is not the first person who will tell you that. The person you thought was your best friend will be the first one to run away. So these friendships, have they been tested? Because a mark of friendship is a test.
Yeah.
After the value, you must know, have we really tested our friendship? At the hardest time, you find that most of the guys realize the person you always call your best friend was there for benefit. And they take off. So that's why you see, as you grow older, our circles actually, you have very few friends.
Yeah.
Their circle influence becomes very small. The guys will tell you secrets, the guys will tell you, no,
Yeah.
I'm being mortgaged. I'm being auctioned. I'm taking a mortgage. You won't hear it somewhere else. But I think for me, it's this value system which is key, and the test which you undergo together.
Yeah.
That's what cements it.
Okay.
Yes, I think what we're all agreeing with is that, yes, you can have a best friend or close friends depending on the season of life that that you're in. I believe that too. I don't have a best friend. Like me and you have become so, such amazing friends after
very
country
quickly,
cleaning,
yeah.
And we met as adults.
Yeah.
And now we're very close. So close friends depending on the season that you're in. I agree with you guys. So yeah. Okay, right now we'll take a small break once again for our sponsors to say something, but don't touch that dial once again, because we shall be back again with our third segment, and it's getting even more interesting and more fiery. Keep it locked.
Welcome back, everybody, and let's be real. Real, especially with our economy. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the US dollar. Literally, it's taking a hit. And if you live in this country, or if you're a human being that is alive today on the universe, you must know what I'm talking about, because I think the whole world is being affected. In Kenya here, we've seen the US dollar has just gone up, 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 until even me, I'm refusing to do any transactions. If a dollar is pegged on it, I'm like, can we not just trade in any other currency? Must it be the dollar? And looks like it's not just me alone. If you ask any other business person, the world leaders that have taken note. In South Africa, the parliament was discussing. They want to trade in their rand. China, they want to make the yuan the dominant currency in the world. There's already talk of the BRIC nations. They want to create their own currency. that is online. What is that? The crypto.
The cryptos.
Yeah, something like
Or
a
the
crypto,
digital
digital
currencies,
currency.
yeah.
And I think we have to talk about these if we are being real. Because what do you guys think?
Well, I think that first of all, changing a world order is always very difficult. And remember that what is the symbol of America? The symbol of America, they're no longer military superpower.
Are they not?
Nope.
Where are they fighting?
Not anymore.
But they are.
No.
Where?
They haven't won any war in the last
Where?
years.
But they're the biggest military
They
in the
have.
world. They have the
America-
biggest
But which
military,
war have
yeah.
they won?
Which
They
one?
have.
Fair.
America has a lot of artillery which they've not used.
Yes.
The war in Ukraine and Russia has actually exposed a lot of things that even the whole of the European Union, they stopped. The last war in Europe was 1940s, the main 42. These are the ones who have been skirmishes between small nations. So they have not been producing a lot of military material. So the only symbol remaining for Americans to dominate the world is the currency. And this currency, they have been using it either to hurt people, especially in African states. If you don't go
Zimbabwe
well,
is a case.
they hurt people, or they will deny you, or they'll bring, like in the 80s and 90s in Kenya and Ghana, they brought the structured adjustment programs. They'll force you to take loans. That's why the IMF is based there, all these things. So the world is just waking up and realizing, wait a minute, you've been telling us this, but you're the one who's only benefiting. We trade in your currency. Like, for example, in Kenya, you know, our reserve, our dollar reserve, is supposed to be at 7.2 million, which is an equivalent to 3 months import. Why we had a problem the last time is that our dollar reserve had gone down to 6.9 at the central bank. That's why the Tanzanian president was saying that there's some neighbors of ours here who have even come for us to help them with dollars. So the Americans make sure that you don't have that currency. So they hold it against you. They give it you a few amounts. If a whole country like Kenya would have 7.2 as our reserve, and yet you can't trade beyond that, it means that someone is controlling you, and that control is what we want to get out of. And it'll be a lot of fight, because it needs a lot of dedication to get out. But also we have a problem as Africans. Why don't we have one currency for the whole of African states? When I go to Tanzania, it's a shilling, which is different from Kenya. Ethiopia, birr. We can actually also come with a currency like the BRIC nations. For us to intertrade in Africa, can you imagine you can't intertrade with Congo if you don't have the dollar? You can't trade with Ethiopia here without changing your money into dollar. Yet you are too far from America. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is what Pan-African is about, you know, and this is what the sort of things that the latest martyr of Pan-Africanism, who was Muammar Gaddafi, died for, who had brought to the table with the African Union that let's have one currency backed by gold. Muammar Gaddafi and Libya will take care of it, so that open up African borders, so that there's free movement of goods and people across our borders. This is the only way, therefore, we can hit these guys with their dollar nonsense. Because this dollar, as you're saying, is being kept away from us. And then, of course, politically, they hit us with divide and rule. So keep every nation to itself, keep and close up those borders, have all manner of currencies. And it comes back to divided, we are weaker, and united, we are stronger. So I support that. One of the ways that we can make our currency stronger, first of all, is have one African currency. Slowly we can get there with people like Kagame who are already advocating for it. However, also just, begin to open up even regional borders. Blocks like ECOWAS have now fallen. The East African community, we are still struggling. If we can just start opening up our borders, even just regionally, and then slowly integrate the bigger, the smaller blocks. We may get there, but this thing of the dollar, I'm glad there's a reawakening, and the world is waking up to the fact that we don't actually need these dollars. We can just trade it in other currencies.
Only when you're seated, you know where it hurts, isn't it? And the dollar, honestly, I'm feeling the pain. And every Kenyan, very soon when you hear there are no products on the shelves, and this is what happened to Zimbabwe. They were just starved of the dollars. When no one is trading with you, nobody then. So for me, as an importer, also, in terms of even exporting, it is a problem. Because now, yet we need a currency that can be uniform, like everyone can understand what we are talking about. And that's what the dollar does. But right now, I've even seen the Kenyan president, our president, negotiating. Otherwise, people will go on the streets. They will topple nations because the cost of living is just too high. But it's not because people are not fulfilling their election mandates. So you think the President Ruto is just going to sit there, see the chaos on the streets because of the dollar? No, we're going to find solutions. If we need to do barter trades, if we need to trade, for example, in the rand, now a lot of South Africans are accepting the rand. People would just rather find another way of going around the dollar, and that's how nations. We are just, I think, in the middle of experiencing a really big change in the world order. Unless the US does something to rein in the dollar, no, I don't think the world will accept to be mistreated like that.
I think in closing, I agree with a lot of the solutions that you guys are talking about. What my personal opinion is, because you'd kind of pointed to the fact that the dollar is kind of US's last stand, the last thing that they're the best in the world for. Don't think America's going to give it up easy. They're not going to give it up easy. And so I feel like when you see America quiet, when these conversations are happening and they're quiet, they have something up their sleeve. I don't think that the dollar is going to disappear unless it's beneficial for America themselves. If not, they do have a lot of power. They do have a lot of military power. They do have a lot of power in terms of international politics. I don't think it's going to be as simple as people think. The dollar is a thing of the old. Let's just leave it, let it topple. I don't think it's going to be that easy. But we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens. But moving on to what's probably going to be our last topic of today. This actually goes off a topic that we had last week when we were talking about the X Factor. So we're going to lighten things up here. When we were talking about Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber, now we're going to bring it back to Kenya and talk about Samido. Samido. And his wife and his other wife, or his wife and his mistress, or whatever you want to call whatever you want to call these people. So recently his wife, I think their daughter had a birthday party. And his wife went and posted a picture of Samido with their kids and the wife. And very, very soon after, Karen Nyamu, is that her last name? She comes out and posts a picture of Samido with their daughter at her birthday party. And a lot of people had a lot of feelings about it. I'll say first because Mia has so many feelings. Let me tell you something. At this point, I don't even blame that woman. I blame Samido. As in, honestly, I feel like this whole thing of blaming the woman every time a woman disrespects your wife, but you're the one who brought this woman into the situation. At which point do you stand up as a man and protect your own wife against this woman that you brought into the situation? So for me personally, I blame him. I blame only him. It's his job. If these are both his women, let him stand up and be a man. And put people in their place and just know, you can't disrespect my wife like this. That's my opinion. Melvin, tell us what you think.
You cannot control a woman's jealousy. A woman's jealousy
But you can leave her. Can you not leave her? If she's disrespecting, can you not leave her?
But
are you glued?
But where is the disrespect in that?
What do you mean? That chick has been disrespecting on.
No, we're talking about this particular incident where...
But in general, she's been disrespecting.
No, I'm keeping to this particular incident where...
Because it's convenient. Okay.
Yeah, the wife has posted something, about the birthday, then Nyamu comes and posts something about the, basically just say, this is a man this is a polygamous man. Let's just call it what it is. He's polygamous, he has got 2 wives, they are both happy. None is leaving, so they are comfortable being with Samido in their own different entities. What is happening here is, First wife, second wife, jealousy galore. You cannot mitigate a woman's jealousy.
Yes,
for
you
the
can.
other.
You can leave her. Can you not? If you say, yo, if you're not going
But
to
why
respect
leave-
my first
but
wife,
why,
I'll
but
leave
why,
you.
but why leave her? Why leave her? I
Because she's
think
disrespecting your wife.
what's going to happen here is he can just Samido should just be a husband to the first, be a husband to the, make both of them feel secure in their own homes, and then leave the rest. Because there's nothing you can do about this woman's jealousy for the.
CEO, what do you think?
You know, for
Let's
each
see.
other.
Let's hear the other man.
But I commend him for keeping both of them happy.
Oh
They
my
both
God,
seem
oh.
happy. First wife is happy, second wife is happy.
The first wife is not happy. CEO, what do you think?
I think most of the Samido and Karen and the wife, Samido needs a bit of, you know, in African culture, let me go to African culture. When you wanted to marry two wives, you must be a very strong personality. You don't take nonsense from your women,
Thank you.
from your women folk. So what Samido needs to do first of all is to say, and come clean and say, of course, you're my first wife, you're my second wife. These are the rules of this home. Rule number one, I'll come to visit you, I'll stay with you, and I'll stay with you. The problem is, all this is being lost in between. Because Samido goes here, fights with Karen, Karen posts, I'm out. The next day, Karen calls back and says, oh, he's the best daddy in the world. He's the best man in my life I've ever seen. A week later, the same Karen says that I've been manhandled or beaten or something like this. So it looks like a joke. But for me, I think that, first of all, is to accept. These guys must accept they're in a relationship, all of them. And you know that I have a wife, and this also is the lady. I don't know whatever they call them. But if it was me in my person, I would say, listen, you are the second wife, these are the rules. Please don't do this thing.
And if she
which
does, what do you do?
Of course, there are places where you move, you leave. You know, you must have an agreement.
So you should leave.
But you can't just leave. You know, you can control.
Let's hear from the other woman.
control
Talk
your
to
time.
us. Talk to
Melvin,
us.
huh?
Talk
Listen,
to us.
who are these women you're talking about waiting to be left? I mean, I don't see. She's called Ede. Ede. This is how you pronounce it.
Ida,
And
Ida, whatever. Yeah.
Karen. I see two very strong women. They're not sitting there to be left.
They would
Exactly.
leave.
And I think they will leave in the time when they are ready to leave. And you know, my take is this. This is a national TV station. We are discussing Samido and his two wives. They are clearly giving us a show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about.
Yeah.
We are talking about Samido, Ede, and Karen. So clearly they're entertaining us. They like the circus. And I think it works well for Samido. It works very well for Ede. No, not Ede.
Karen.
Karen.
For Karen, she's a politician.
Yeah.
She wants to remain top of mind. It is working for her. It is working for Samido. I don't think anyone is crying per se. If they're crying all the way to the bank. It's not a bad thing. Laughing, crying all the way to the bank is an amazing thing. But the other thing is there are children involved.
Yeah.
So if Samido was at the child's birthday, what do you people want her to do? You want Karen to hide this baby?
But I don't
Exactly.
think
Hide
no,
that fact.
but I don't
You
think the
want-
birthday happened at the same time. She was posting now an old picture just
But
because
listen,
now the other wife has
Karen
posted.
is a politician, and there's a way politicians are wired. I don't think she's gonna sit somewhere at the back seat there. It's working for her. It is working for her electorate. It's like everything
Oh,
is
she's
working.
nominated.
Whatever she's nominated,
She has no
but she's
responsibility at
always
all.
up there.
But she wants the next
This is a
election now.
show.
Yeah, it's a show.
She's enjoying this show.
Yeah, I think she is.
In fact, I think so that, honestly, if you guys stop talking about her, people stop writing about her, maybe Facebook goes under, these people will just change.
Yeah.
Because they are used to the limelight. And this is their claim to fame, together with the politics. And it fames them. The person I feel bad for, but I don't want to say that, because clearly they're giving us a show. I thought Ede had left.
Yeah, I thought she had left
She
also.
had left. Yeah, so why are you even feeling pity? Yeah?
But clearly she hasn't
But
left.
yeah,
She hasn't
clearly
left because
links are
if she's
still there.
really fed up, she will leave. She will have that birthday and she's not going to post anything because she knows what it is.
So what you're saying pretty much is it's a show. So we
I
should
think
just
this is a
continue
show.
watching, get our popcorn,
let's
and keep
enjoy.
watching
Let's
the
get
show.
the popcorn. Actually, I don't even know a single song Samido has sung.
Neither do
hear
I.
he's a big
But I
fan,
applaud,
But I know him.
over and above it all, I applaud Samido for having the bravery. I fell short of saying something else.
This is another
For
show
having
over
the-
here.
for-
This
for-
is
for
another
having the
one.
bravery to say, because most men are craving for that. You have
Not
wife,
everyone, but
wife,
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Wife number one, wife number two. Samido has gone, and he's young. He's not an old man. He has gone, he got the first wife, then he made the wife of his choice, Karen, married her, and basically he's made a bold
Are
decision.
they really
and
married with Karen or
No.
are
he's
they
living
sharing
with it.
children?
No, I think they're
They are
just
sharing
yeah.
children. But you know, as a man, I think it gives him some, there's this
Some
young,
wow.
pretty girl, woman, whatever,
Yeah.
fighting over him. Which man doesn't want to see women? A lot of men secretly, they love women. fighting over them.
May my husband not
listen,
want to see
now
that.
he's in the States. When he goes to the States,
Yeah.
there's some woman over there.
Yeah.
Who is keeping her? That is a story. Me, I know that this guy is in the States.
Yeah.
Because there's Karen making some noises, some
Yeah.
woman obviously doing what? In Dubai, there's
Yeah.
somebody going. This is a show.
So let's get our popcorn and continue watching this show. I
Yes.
really loved filming this episode. I feel like I've learned so much and definitely been entertained. I want to say a huge thank you before we leave to Thailand Carpets. Again, I loved this set. I love these cushions specifically. And a huge thank you to Samantha Wines. Where can people get these wines?
Basically, in all the leading wine stores, we are in Carrefour, we are in Quick Mart, especially all the Quick Mart stores,
Yes.
Chanarana, which
Yes.
is now Food Plus. We are in whiskey shops that are situated, called Mega Wines Whiskey Shops. In
Lovely.
Galleria, Galleria, Waterfront, Sarit Center, even in Mombasa. You can find us at Kyoko in Mombasa, Eslika. You will find us in Eldoret, most of the leading wineries in Eldoret, and at J Wines.
So pretty
J
much
Wines.
everywhere, guys. You can find Samantha Wines everywhere. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. And to everyone at home, we really hope you guys have gotten something out of this conversation. And we look forward to entertaining you guys and having some insightful conversations again next week. So stay tuned.